Hey everybody, this is Miss Miller and I'm sharing with you a early finishing project. So if you finished your project that you worked on earlier, I'm having you move forward with this new assignment. So this is going to give you practice with a new kind of art form and the use of lines and the different kinds of lines that we use in our artwork. Okay, so these are printouts of two different artists. This one is by Bridget Riley and this one is by Chizuko Yoshida. Okay, so definitely looking at these to compare and contrast what the artwork is showing us and thinking about how are they using certain lines and shapes. Okay, because one is a artist based in the US who's still living. This artist was from Japan and they have passed on. So when we look at these, you can kind of see they're using a certain element. I want you to think about what that is. Okay, and then you can see, even though this is a printout, see how this is moving and there's feeling of movement. So they're using lines and shapes to create this optical illusional effect of movement. And Bridget Riley hand painted all of these, and these are very large scale. And then Yoshida, hers are used using printmaking technique. Okay, so she uses actual plates, puts ink on them, or she uses the plates without ink, and she creates these lines that have a sense of movement. Okay, all right, so we're going to do that using our hands. So here's one that I've already done. And this is just the first phase. There's obviously no color on it, but you're going to get this handout right here. And you see that we're just making these lines. Okay, so this handout, you can use a ruler and a pencil. And before you do that, I want you to draw your hand. So I'm just going to use my hand, use my pencil, and you don't want to press that hard. Lightly go around it. Okay, so the line that goes around the outside of an object, we call that an outline. So you've just made an outline of your hand, right? Okay, the next thing is you're going to flip it around. You're going to get a ruler, and now you're going to connect these lines together. So this is creating the grid idea, but also creating this illusion of movement that Bridget Riley used in op art. These lines can be a little bit darker, but I do try to start a little bit light. So these are about 1/2 inch away from each other. Okay, so now I'm getting the tip of my finger. I want to skip, okay? Skip wherever your hand is. Go to the next one. There's a finger. Skip the next one. Then I keep going. Skip. Keep going. And see, now I have another finger. I have to skip. And in between your fingers, you want to also skip as well. So it almost looks like you've laid your hand on top of a piece of notebook paper. And then in between my fingers. Okay. And then I gotta skip my entire hand. Okay. So it gets a little bit more tricky as you go down. Skip every time you see your hand, the outline of your hand. Okay, we're going to add another set of lines that are called contour lines. So contour lines are what is creating that optical effect in Bridget Riley's artwork. And so we are going to do the same and make sure you go all the way across. So if you didn't see that, go all the way across. Okay, and this printout, you can see the lines kind of merge with my actual printout. And if you're off a little bit, that's okay. Just go back over it, use an eraser, neaten it up. That's why I say go lightly, because if you make a mistake, you can always redo it. So this project is really if you finished your other project a little bit earlier. Okay, so you can see that it doesn't take very long. Just take your time, line up the ruler. And if you think, oh, well, Miss Miller, you're so fast at this. Okay, remember, I've probably done this like several times. And then my wrist, I skipped that. Okay, now I missed a line at the bottom. I don't know why it didn't print out. Do me a favor. Add about another line right there. There we go. Okay, so now this is lined. The next thing is doing those contour lines. So these lines are the lines that go around the outside. So it's kind of like now we're doing what Yoshida's done to create this feeling like it's like almost like a tunnel or a cylinder that the lines are following. We're going to do that for our fingers. So now even this tip, I'm going to go around. Okay, so here's the little trick. Go up and around, almost like you're going to touch that other line, but you don't want to quite touch it. Because this is shorter, I just go around the outside of it, go up and around like a hill, 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 up and around like a hill. Okay, so keep going up and around like a hill and make things connect. Now, some people like to do one finger at a time, up and around, but it's almost like you're touching that former line above it. So that's helping to give that sense of the illusion. Even though this is a flat 2D surface, we're actually creating this feeling that there is something cylindrical underneath it. So here I can go up and around, and I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to make that like there's one, because it is an illusion anyways, right? So up and around. So it's that up and around. Okay. Now when I get here, this gets a little tricky. I'm going to go around and over. I'm going to go around and over. Like it's kind of an arc. It's a bend. Up and around and over. I know that this would be right here, right? So up and around on my thumb. Okay, so that's where if there is the tip of your digit, just go around the very top of the outline, and then up and around, up and around, up and around. And then we're going to do this one right here, up and around, up and around, and up and around. Okay, see? And now it feels more dimensional. And what we want to do as we get around to the wrist, up and around, up and around. And I really need to push it here because I feel like I see. And if you make a mistake, like I said, mistakes happen in art. It's not a perfect science here. Okay, because that's where my wrist elbow is. I'm going to go up and around. And even here, I want to really push up and around, okay? And so now it looks like this is actually a dimensional hand underneath the paper, but we know it's just the use of contour lines and outlines, okay? Okay, so as you can see, now the cool part is we can start using something called value to make this even more dimensional. So value is the lightness or darkness of color. We're going to use your pencil. So your graphite, you only have one color really with this. So we're going to pretend light is coming this way. You don't have to draw the little arrow, but I do that for myself. If it helps you, you can always erase later. But I like to draw an arrow to remind myself, where is the light coming from? And then if the light is coming from this way, there's going to be a shadow on the other side, right? So this is just using pencil. The darkest part of the shadow is going to be where the closest to where the object is. And as we get away further from the object, that shadow fades. It's also going to mimic the shape of the object, right? So now I can even hit it darker. I start, and I go light. I go really light, because you have more control with lightness, right? So it's creating this illusion just by putting the shadow on one side and having control over our values. But yeah, you're going to go darker here. And for you guys, if you really want to get really this cast shadow, I have something called a core shadow for the more advanced students. Okay, so this is called your cast shadow. And then there's something called a core shadow. It's like light hits the object and then bounces out. And so then you get this secondary shadow that is slightly less dark. It's not as dark of a value as this shadow right here. So you have your cast shadow, go your core, And then I could bring it fully down. You would want to do this for each of your digits, okay? And you're going to see how it really will make this push. And then as it gets further out, go really light, till it goes to the white of the paper. Yep. And if I want to get fancy with it, use your finger and blend. Okay. All right. So that's how you can create your hand that looks like this illusion on a flat 2D sheet of paper. But yeah, you would want to do the rest of my wrist all the way down. And remember, wherever that edge outline is, that's where it's going to be the darkest. And then bring that cast shadow out. But yeah, shadows even have light inside of them, where it's a variation of darks and lights. And I might even push this out further. Okay. But yeah, you want to do that for each of your fingers and everything else. But it'll really look like this illusion of your hand resting on underneath a piece of paper. All right. Thanks for listening. Bye.